LeBron has been lying to his fans? Let's find out. I'm gonna shock you here. People lie.
Got him!
Every single person has told a lie, no matter the significance.
Psych!
Some lies are to save a loved one's feelings, some lies are to get out of sticky situations. Then there are other types of lies. The ones that feel so unnecessary, so unbelievable that you wonder why the person just doesn't tell the truth. There's almost no industry other than politics and economics, obviously, but no more industry that lies more to the public than sports and their athletes. And recently, there's been a wave of lying in NBA circles. LeBron James still, quote, loves Ohio and thanks Cleveland for his time there, over a month after the decision. Carmelo Anthony never asked for a trade out of Denver. Chris Paul loves playing with a group of YMCA League players, and that begs the question, who are the biggest liars in the NBA today? Well, that's why I'm here, and here are the top 5 liars in the NBA. At number 5, Chris Paul. A decade ago, ESPN.com's Bill Simmons anointed Paul as evolutionary Isaiah compared to Thomas, meaning that his skill set, toughness, and leadership matched those of Isaiah Thomas from the Detroit Pistons. But his game also included a shooting arsenal that Thomas never developed. At the time, Chris was a member of the Charlotte Hornets, and they were a 50-plus win team looking to be on the verge of consistent contention with the Western Conference elite. Now they're lucky to contend with the Western Conference mediocre, and they also have had an owner that looked as if he's taking ownership lessons from Donald Sterling, and have a fan base that couldn't really give two gosh darns if the franchise stays or goes. During that time, Chris Paul said in an interview that I, quote, never wanted a trade. I'm perfectly happy spending the prime of my could-be Hall of Fame career winning 35 to 40 games per season. Well, did Chris Paul want out of Charlotte? Obviously, yes, he wanted it. I mean, he wanted a change so bad that he literally changed 2 teams afterwards. What I don't get about this is why can't these players openly just accept certain things like these and tell the truth? At number 4, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Yes, popular and credible personalities like Shaq and Kobe have also lied to their fans. I mean, doesn't that nauseating photo tell it all? I know it's been a decade since this happened and Shaq and Kobe became great friends afterwards, but I also realized that it's basically been proven through both actions and words that neither man meant a word of the, quote, it's all in the past rhetoric they gave in the moments following that they were selected co-MVP even after whatever has happened. Shaq and Kobe used to hate each other for reasons both professional and personal. It was one of the few compelling individual rivalries left in sports, despite O'Neal being a shell of his former self. That night, and especially in that picture, is one of the NBA's biggest lies of the past 2 decades. So despite its relative forgottenness, if that's a word, both men are on automatic inclusion on this list for their participation in this lie. And at number 3, LeBron James. Yes, if you've been watching the NBA since the 2000s, you'll know the entire period between June 26, 2003 and July 8, 2010 for LeBron James was a huge, fat lie. I mean, I might be putting it in the wrong manner, but that's what he made us feel like when he made the decision to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers. We've all been told the story a billion times of the hometown boy who led his hometown team and its city to a prominence never before seen, only to rip their hearts out in one of the most cold-blooded television specials in the history of modern media. We also heard his half-hearted and far-belated thank yous to both Cleveland and Akron. Because of this excitement regarding the talent taking forward and his new teammates, most will put the decision on the back burner and focus on their on-court performance, except in Cleveland, where the citizens will look back on James's 7 years in a Cavs uniform all having the same thought. It was all a lie. Although LeBron came back a few years later, nobody was convinced. At number 2, Paul George. Growing up in California, Paul made many fans think he was on his way to the Lakers a couple years back, but he suddenly joined their rival instead. Back when Paul George was ending his 2-year stint with the OKC Thunder, and he believed he had every intent of joining up with the Lakers, and these beliefs were not rumors, they didn't come out of thin air, it came right from Chris Paul. Like, come on man, how can you lie like that? During a documentary about him in the ESPN series, he said, quote, "I was watching Kobe Bryant when I first fell in love with the game, and I'm outside playing in front of my house, and I'm not picturing myself in an Indiana Pacers jersey or an OKC Thunder jersey, but I actually pictured myself in a Lakers jersey. Everyone in the league would say they would love to go back home and play for the city, and there's just something about representing home." To top it off, he mentioned this right before the episode's intro, as if to imply that a trade was already in the works, as we come to find out later, as Paul ended up signing a 3-year contract, which got him all about $103 million over the years. By the time the contract had been announced, NBA fans were shocked to get the news. However, the surprise then turned into resentment. Paul announced at a press conference, quote, "For me, I grew up a Clippers fan. I loved the Clippers as a kid."
What?
Like, how? His words are almost identical to the same ones he said about the Lakers, totally making the fans believe that what he said now and before all was just made up, and there were many memes made for him for being a big fat liar. And finally, at number 1, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant towering overpowered fours and matching out quite nicely with centers seems odd that according to his former teammate, his height is only 6'9". Throughout the years that Kevin Durant has been in the league, there has been a consistently asked question regarding his height, and many journalists have failed to get a consistent answer out of him. Generally, he's reported to be anywhere from 6'9" to 6'11", or maybe even 7 feet tall, and the issue with both of these heights is that whenever he is standing next to centers like DeMarcus Cousins or DeAndre Jordan, he looks to be taller than them, and they're both listed as 6'11" centers, which is kind of strange. Although he is not the only one who has lied about his height, in fact, lying about your height is part of the sport. So many others have clearly lied about their height as well. Like, focus on the comparison I just made, and maybe Kevin Love is being part of the quote, "I lied about my height" league. Like, it clearly seems true. I mean, he's listed as 6'10", and when he's standing next to LeBron, he looks to be about the same height, and maybe even a bit shorter. Because of this, somebody that is not Durant that's lying about his height, or does everybody else seems to be lying about theirs? While this seems to be a convincing argument, drawing himself, eventually the NBA player bust up to his height on a radio show, saying, quote, "Since I love you guys so much, I was recorded at 6'10" and 3/4 with no shoes on. So with shoes on, I'm up to 7 feet, and I was just messing with people because they asked me so much, I thought, I'll just mess with people back, and for me, I'm talking to women, I'm 7 feet tall. But in my basketball circles, I'm 6'9", KD said.
In middle school, I had to be, I want to say about 6 feet.
So were you always the tallest one?
I was always the tallest one, yeah.
Suddenly, Durant's 7'5" wingspan starts to make a lot more sense, and he later admitted the reason that he lists himself smaller as well. He said, quote, "I've always thought it was cool to say I'm 6'9", really, in the prototypical size for a small forward. Anything taller than that, and they start saying I'm a power forward." Weird, but hey, it's KD, and he's weird. Well, that's it for today, guys. Let us know which was the biggest lie of all in the comments down below. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video of Triple Double Nation. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.